It was a #1 record thanks to Studio Magic. That was Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye, the studio group Steam. Now, boy, this duo made magic with their music. They had a long history. We were talking before about Herman's Hermits, Peter Noon's father, coming from the music world, where their mom and dad were in music. As a matter of fact, they used to appear on their mom and dad's old radio show, and they grew up to be pioneers of rock and roll. Phil and Don, the Everly Brothers.
Never felt like this until I kissed you. How did I exist until I kissed you?
What a record, a top 10 classic by the Everly Brothers. Buddy Holly's Crickets were in that one on the back up there. That was Till I Kissed You. I will be back in a second to hear the title song from one of the biggest movies of 1969. Next on the place where this music means as much to us as it means to you. Rock, roll, and remember.
Here's a bone health tip from Sally.
Classic Hits, 1700 KVNS.
Dick Clark here on Rock, Roll, and remember to take you back with me in time once again to 1969 when interest rates continued to rise on the credit market. President Nixon gets an okay from the House for a one-year extension of his tax surcharge. Laotian officials admit that U.S. planes have been used to transport government troops in Laos. And U.S. officials say that the talks with North Vietnam about prisoners of war have gone nowhere. 1969 is a very troubled year, but our music gives us some comfort. Records like this next one help out a little bit. It's one of the most popular songs around. We're talking about the third week in October of 1969, and it's the title song from a movie that's, it's huge these days, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. This is Oliver.
Jean, roses are red. All the leaves have gone green, and the clouds are so low you can touch them and
Pretty song by Oliver. That record sat in the #4 spot on the charts during the third week in October of 1969. Gene. Now we'll take another look at that profile year in the next hour of the show. We'll pick up our special artist profile of Herman's Hermits. We'll break open the American Bandstand archives with some big hits and the jukebox favorite or two. And you and I, we're going to share some great music in the next hour of Rock, Roll, and Remember. Dick Clark with you here on the United Stations Radio Networks.
The greatest hits of the 60s and 70s. This is Classic Hits 1700 KVNS Brownsville and the Rio Grande Valley.
Listen to Clark on the United Stations Radio Networks with the best music one more time. It's good to have you along for another hour of Rock, Roll, and Remember. We're going to break open the American Bandstand archives once again. We'll have more of our special artist profile of Herman's Hermits. We'll turn back the clock to our profile year of 1969, and we're going to break open this hour with some of the artists who you would swear would have gone to #1 but didn't. Now, this man, for example, goodness only knows he had talent. He could do it all. He could move on stage. He had women screaming for him, men envious of him. And the highest he ever made it on the pop charts was to #4 with this song, an operatic piece of material called Night by Jackie Wilson.
here comes the night, another.
Boy, that song went to #4 and was the biggest charting single in the man's whole career. That was Jackie Wilson with Night. Now, the guys coming up were fire set to vinyl. They practically melted everything in sight when they performed. Put 38 singles on the pop charts. They're legends, but they never had a #1 pop single. Now, the closest they ever came to #1 was #2, and they did it with a song you're going to hear right now. These are the Isley Brothers, not with Twist and Shout or This Old Heart of Mine, but It's Your Thing.
It's your thing. Do what you wanna do. I can't tell you who to stop it to. It's your thing. Do what you wanna do.
Oh, boy, they could burn up the charts at will, but out of 38 singles they put on the pop charts, they never had a number one record. The one you just heard came the closest. It peaked at number 2 for the Isley Brothers, It's Your Thing. Now, these guys were practically legendary for always just missing the top spot on the surveys. Can't explain why, because, boy, you talk about when they were together, oh, they were hot. They never got that top spot, though. This particular song went to number 2 as the highest thing they ever got. Creedence Clearwater Revival. Seemed to be like a day back in time there where you couldn't turn on the radio without hearing one of their hit records, but ironically, they got as high as number 2 with that record, the highest rating they ever got for a record, Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival. It's time now to pick up our special artist profile of a group that almost wasn't. I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'll explain it for you after we hear this Herman's hit. Good remake of Sam Cooke's Wonderful World.
Don't know much about history. Don't know much biology.
Herman's looking to Sam Cooke for that remake. That was Wonderful World. Now, that song, like all of the group's big hits, was produced by a man named Mickey Most, who at first really didn't want to sign the whole group. He was just interested in Peter Noon. I'll let Peter tell you that story.
He didn't want to have to deal with a group because he'd had dealings with the Animals, and he didn't want to make records like that. So we decided that we would call this whole operation Herman's Hermits, but in fact he and I would make the records. And the ones that the Hermits could play on, they did. But when it came to making records, sometimes the Hermits weren't even at the sessions. And that was very successful in that way, like they played on Henry VIII because we needed that kind of energy. But they didn't play on Just a Little Bit Better or There's a Kind of Hush or those other songs because they didn't have that kind of energy. And Mickey Most couldn't deal with them not being able to do what was right for the song.
That was a number 1 million seller for Herman's Hermits. I'm Henry VIII, I am. All right, up next.